today we're talking about ADHD task paralysis. I'm going to go through 6 ways that you can begin to overcome ADHD task paralysis. Now, I see a ton of videos like this, a lot of tips, a lot of tools, all that kind of stuff. Some of it good, some of it not. But hopefully in today's video, you're going to have 6 practical things that you can do to begin overcoming task paralysis. Now, if you've not been here before, my name is Matt. I'm a therapist in private practice. I own a group practice, and we help folks with ADHD. It's in fact one of our specialties. So we are excited to make this video and go through a couple of ways we can begin to overcome task paralysis. And now, real quick, let's jump into the screen share. What is task paralysis? Now, we can get really deep into this. It is different than procrastination, okay? And we won't get into the specifics of that because this video is going to be all about the practical stuff, all right? But what does task paralysis look like? It is essentially when we have things we need to do, we have projects, assignments, tasks, it doesn't matter what it is, and we do not have the motivation to do it. Now, when it comes to ADHD and procrastination, task paralysis, this kind of thing, massive misunderstandings that need to be corrected. And number one is that it's not always a choice, okay? It's not just, oh, I'm choosing to procrastinate or whatever the case may be. ADHD brains are different. The way motivation is different for people with ADHD. One of the leading researchers, his name is Dr. Russell Barkley, he would call ADHD a motivational deficit disorder. Okay, what he's saying is that people with ADHD lack motivation, right? Not always, right? But in some instances. And that's not just choice or because they're lazy or anything like that. Brain wiring, right? So it's rooted in that. And so when people say people are lazy or they're making it up, or no, we're not doing that. So that's one thing we have to understand is we have to understand how the ADHD brain works. Right. With that in mind, though, it's also not as simple as just doing skills and tools and overcoming something. Right. Our brains are wired differently. So we have to keep that in mind as well when considering that some of this might be really hard, right? And sometimes it is about kind of being a bit easier on ourselves. But I also know that life continues to go on and we need to do stuff, which is why we're talking about the tips. All right. So with that out of the way, let's go on a little journey here. All right. So here we are, right? We're standing there, maybe we're laying there, sitting there, it doesn't matter. We got emails, we got taxes, the project, the thing, right? We're overwhelmed. And we're paralyzed. We don't know what to do, or we do know what to do. Maybe we're just not able to start. We don't know where to start, and we're paralyzed. All right. So now these 6 things we're going to go through come from different professionals in the field, reputable resources, and our own practical experience as therapists with ADHD. All right. So number one thing we can do is shrink the tasks. Okay. So people often have this. I'm going to do the report, right? Or I'm going to start my project. But that's too big. What we need to actually do is I'm going to open the Word document. I'm going to open the email. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Or I don't need, it's not about, the lack of intelligence to do step 1. It's a lack of motivation. And often when we have it written out that clearly, open Word or open that email, we can take that first step. So I encourage all folks to give this a try, take a bigger task, shrink it down, right, into steps. And again, something as simple like just open the doc might be a good place to start, okay? But shrinking the task, great first place to start. Number 2, the 5-minute rule, right? So this is, we are going to start anything for 5 minutes. So let's say we opened up that Word doc or that email, just commit to 5 minutes, okay? A lot of times we kind of get overwhelmed. That report's going to take 5, 6, 7 hours, and it might, right? But when we're faced with that kind of daunting time commitment, it could be enough to paralyze us. So make an internal commitment to just do 5 minutes and then check in. Maybe after 5 minutes, you take a small break, right? Or maybe you say, oh, now I can keep going. It's often that initial starting point that's the hardest. Once people start, they are able to usually keep going. Not always, right? But commit to just 5 minutes, okay? Number 3, body doubling, okay? This is picking up a lot of steam. but body doubling really works, okay? There's a few ways we can do it. You can have a friend or a roommate or someone kind of sit with you in a physical location, right? They don't have to do anything other than just be there with you, and they can do their work or their tasks while you do yours. This can really help. You can be creative. Maybe you don't have people around. You can do Zoom. They can hop on that way. You can go to a library or a coffee shop where people aren't technically body doubling with you, but they're sitting at tables across from you, or you're kind of working in that kind of environment. But having someone sit with you while you do work, right? They're not sitting with you in a babysitter kind of way, right? But again, they're doing their task, you're doing yours. This helps. Most of the time when I have clients try this, they come back and they say it was really helpful. They got a lot done. Now, the other thing, people resist this, and sometimes they'll say, well, I can't always do this. This is not, we're not perfect. We're not going to do these things every single time. There are going to be times where we procrastinate or feel paralyzed, and it's really hard. But we're at least going to have more in our toolkit that we can use, to try next time we're struggling, right? Number 4. This one actually comes from Dr. Russell Barkley. He wants people to visualize the outcome of the task. One of the reasons why he says this is because people with ADHD have a hard time envisioning a future goal. Okay, this is why there's sometimes that issue with like instant gratification, right, or not following through. In his research, he'll say that people with ADHD, when it comes to a kind of a future goal, it's hard to kind of lock in on that, right, and to work towards that delayed gratification, if you will. So one thing he suggests is that we visualize what it's going to be like to be done or to complete the task. And I wouldn't just say it's going to be like this, but take a minute, sit there, close your eyes, envision what it's going to be like to submit the report. How's that going to feel? How relieving is that going to be, right? And you really try to get yourself into that moment, okay? And he says that this can then increase the motivation tank a little bit. Okay, so this is another one to try. A lot of people have not heard of this one, so I encourage people to give that a shot. Okay, number 5, the Pomodoro. This is not mind-blowing, right? It kind of relates to the 5-minute one, but essentially we're trying to create artificial urgency. We know that folks with ADHD often thrive when things are urgent. Now I know it's, I know it's a bit artificial, but it's better than nothing. And again, we see this working consistently for folks. So, rather than committing to that 4 hours or sitting down and just dreading it, do 25, right? 5 minutes off. Do 10, 5 minutes off, whatever works. We're just trying to get that ball rolling. And sometimes having a visual Pomodoro is really helpful, not just an alarm on your phone, but there's something, there's apps you can get, there's clocks you can get. But in my opinion, when you visualize the time passing, it can help to increase the motivation, all right? Number 6, this is just kind of a mindset. This is kind of a bonus, but we have to orient our minds correctly. A lot of times we'll procrastinate or feel paralyzed also because of perfectionism. So we'll feel like we have to do it perfectly, or the task at hand has to be done entirely and it's got to be perfect. So what happens is we don't end up doing it at all. And then our worst fear comes true, which is it wasn't perfect, right? But it wasn't even done to begin with. And so we have to remember that oftentimes it's about progress and not perfection. So a bad draft will beat no draft, right? A rough outline beats no outline. Some sort of email put together is better than not responding to your boss at all, right? It might not start the way you want it to, but at least having something of substance that relates to the task can be helpful, and then we work from there, all right? But again, that mindset, I can't stress enough, progress in these moments is often better than perfection. Because when we don't, or we just kind of say, oh, it has to be perfect, we end up doing nothing, which is the opposite of perfection, okay? These are 6 things you can begin to try right away. Again, right, none of this is mind-blowing. And that's the thing when it comes to ADHD. The skills and tools, they're not necessarily new, mind-blowing techniques, but it's about having a wide array of tools in your toolkit that you can pull from, right? So that we can help ourselves in the moments where it feels really, really difficult, all right? And also, just to normalize, it's hard living with ADHD. We might live with task paralysis that other people don't experience, or we procrastinate more than others experience. And that's because brains are wired differently. So on some level, we also have to kind of understand that there's a we're going to deal with this, and some other people might not. Okay, but I hope that these tips help you. I hope you learned something, and that's about it. If you're interested in working with us or learning about our practice, click the link down below. You can check out our website, book a free call, all that good stuff. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.